Right, I think we're good. Morning, everyone. To see if some people are joining us. Hi Jamie, great, good to be here. Morning, Melissa. Sorry for the delay. I've got some exciting news, I suppose. We're no longer actually in Chateau Morris, which is very sad. But I had to come back to Lancaster because I'm moving house soon, and so we're now live from. I don't really know what to call it. It's not a chateau, but Matt's asking where the posh kitchen is. Well, I want to address this up front because I know like the posh thing is like here what makes it, but I want to reassure you that poshness is not about a place. It's about a mindset, and you could be arrogant and privileged and entitled wherever you are. So so it's fine, and in fact you could argue that whereas I don't know if I said before, Chateau Morris, where my parents live, is a Leamington Spa, or Royal Leamington Spa, which is obviously like quite a posh place by dint of the royalness. Whereas in Lancaster, where I am now, I mean, don't get me wrong, Lancaster's great, but it's not Royal Leamington Spa. But I think the contrast between like me being it's not a citizen, what's the word? A son of Leamington Spa, being in Lancaster, and the contrast, I think helps just to emphasise the poshness even more. So yeah, well, exactly. So we might have some challenges in the coming weeks with finding posh objects in my house, but we could be creative and change direction a bit. So I was just trying to sort out the titles. I've not prepared this to be at the right place, so bear with. Might just have to list a bit more than usual. Oh no. My computer's suddenly going slow. Maybe I have to sing it, which is not what anyone wants. Timothy. Oh no, it didn't. Oh. Okay, never mind. Disaster. So obviously, what I have to do is like mute my computer at the moment where it says Tiffany's, so I can say Timothy's at the top, and then unmute it so it carries on, so it's like seamless. But my computer was being slow. I'm sorry. It's we're struggling. New place, but anyway, right. So I'm always trying to like plan this a bit better than I had before, because I just get distracted and then I waffle, and then like we don't get onto the Bible bit because I'm like, it's been half an hour, I need to stop this like now. So morning Jill, sorry, good morning to everyone. Joe, Matt and Amy and Annette, Melissa, Jamie, I've already said hello. Thanks for your kind comment about Amy, about wherever I am is the posh place. Oh, it did work. Oh, I'm not sure. Well, anyway. Right, so I've since we started this, there's been one thing that I've been really looking forward to sharing with you. It's very special and holds a very special place in my heart. And so, this morning we're going to be making cinnamon swirls. Now I think there was a week we did we had cinnamon swirls. I think Mother of Morris had made like homemade, which I also have to say I have also done it in the past, but she was the one who did that on that occasion. But this is obviously not quite as nice, but there's something really special about them. So the first thing we need to do is this basically just to turn into a cookery show. We need to preheat the oven to. Oh, it should probably say, like, you may be wondering what's with the whole like decor, and it is slightly quirky. This is like a rented house, so I have no influence over this. But we've got the so Jamie's on behalf of Hope Church is saying that we all love tin waffle for breakfast. Just to be clear for new people, Tim Waffle isn't like a type of waffle. It's me like waffling, as in talking too much, like now. So got this quite interesting feature of our kitchen, which is these like chipboard cupboards. And so it's not that they're like completely homemade cupboards at all, because inside they're like, this is our spice cupboard. They're like normal cupboards from like, you know, IKEA or Wix or Homebase or Argos or whatever. But for some reason they're like, oh, let's be like edgy and like quirky and like, yeah, let's have chipboard on the front. So which is quite like, when you walk in you're a bit like, whoa. But then now, like, I'm just completely used to it. You don't see it again, and it's just people visit the house and you can tell you first time because they're like, what? And you're like, oh yeah, no, this isn't normal, is it? No. But anyway, so do let me know if you have like weird things in your kitchen, and that people comment on that you just like completely think are completely normal. Maybe things you do in your kitchen, like, you know, that you always put like something strange in the dishwasher, or like, you know, anyway, just checking I've not missed anyone. Hi Chris, Jill again. Matt's asking if Andy's my housemate, or one of my housemates. We were discussing the possibility, we're in negotiations, say, over perhaps an appearance by webcam. It's also slightly stressful, like trying to work out where to put myself. So in Chateau Morris we have this is very posh, what we call a peninsula, which probably most people would just call like a worktop, but I suppose it's specifically a bit that sticks out into the kitchen. So if you imagine, like, say, like from there to there, like across the middle here, there was like a little bit of worktop. In a peninsula, like, it's a good geographical feature that sticks out. I'm sure this is not a term that my parents invented, but it meant like I could be in the middle of the kitchen, but also I'm not like against the wall. No, I can have stuff behind me, but I'm not against the wall. So I'm like, anyway, we'll see what happens. So anyway, Andy may make an appearance at some point, but not today. Yeah, so Melissa's pointing out that we never see a full breakfast because I'm not very good at multitasking, and it's quite hard, like, keeping an eye on myself in my face, which is the one corner of the screen, making sure I'm not like off camera or whatever, and then also trying to keep up with the comments and then remember what I'm saying without like trying to keep some flow going. But anyway, so these are cinnamon rolls. Now, I really love these. So sorry, I should open that in front of you. So in the box you get this tubey thing, and you get it's a little tub, and so the tube is the like dough, and it's got this really quite satisfying thing with this little red tab that you unwrap. So we had these growing up as kids, and they just roll as the people that make them. They don't sponsor this, by the way. I'm just, yeah. And you can see as I open it, it kind of like starts to expand, and it's like, oops, there, and it's like trying to pop out. Anyway, so we take all the paper off, okay, and then you do this really nice, satisfying, twisty thing, and inside we have the dough. You can see it's like pre-done, super easy. Now, I don't know how to see if we can get that. Not all right. Yes, I think. Okay, see if I can re-angle for. Don't know if you can see that. Oh yeah, there we go. There we go. Okay, so it's really easy. You just I should do this on the chopping board really, but right. So you cut this into 6. So we're going to do it in half, and then to 3, because 2 times 3 is 6. So that works quite well. You can also go thirds first and then half, but it depends. I think it's easier to judge thirds on a smaller piece than it is on a big piece. So that's why I do it that way. I mean, this is like so simple. It's like unbelievable. Right, so we've now got our 6 little snail things, and then we need a baking tray. Voila. And you just put them on the baking tray. Like this. I'm sorry, I'm not reading the comments at the moment, so just I'll catch up in a minute. Actually, I've not done very well. They're not quite even sizes. But anyway, so they're on the baking tray, and then no, hands are sticky. I'll touch my computer. Okay, and then this has been a really nice shot actually, side on, isn't it? Right, so then that's good. Put them in the oven, and that's on preheated to 180, I think it is, and it goes for 11 to 14 minutes, or until golden brown. So that's golden brown, not Gordon Brown. Don't worry, they're not going to transform into UK ex-Prime Minister while in the oven. So Julie's getting very excited about seeing Andy. Don't get your hopes up. If he walks in today, he'll be not really awake and very cross because he's on TV. But we'll have to we'll have to get on some point. Melissa says she's getting a crop packet airing. I don't know what a crop packet is. Joe Henderson's saying that what I was saying about Peninsula is really breakfast bar. I think breakfast bar does not sound posh to me. I'm sorry. I think that just sounds like, I don't know, you're trying to be in McDonald's in your house. I don't know. I just never thought breakfast bar sounds like a posh thing. But anyway, Peninsula. Was that a posh dance? I don't. It wasn't deliberately doing a posh dance. I'm still mystified by this crop packet thing. But anyway, so we've got 11 minutes while they're in the oven. I've got a posh object which I stole from my parents' house because it was in the drawer and they weren't using it. Like I said before, being posh involves having lots of perhaps useful objects, but you don't use them, or you only use them once a year. So, and I don't know whether this might not be as posh as I think it is, but anyway, does anyone know what this is? A bonus point if you can tell me what it's made of. Like the Pillsbury Doughman. I don't know what's going on with this. Yeah, so I should say some of these. So I don't know if anyone remembers, at the end of the year, Spotify do this thing called Spotify Unwrapped, I think it's called, and they give you a summary of all your listening in the past year. Yeah, I think you have to be on Spotify Premium to get it, which is sad. But I had got a subscription in October, so I was just in time. And it gives you your most played songs, and you're oh yeah, I do remember that week when I was listening to that on repeat 10 times a day, stuff like that. Anyway, lots of other organisations. I think Spotify kind of started it. It's a roundup of the year. But Sainsbury's, of all people, for Nectar card, their loyalty card, did this thing this year, which people call Sainsbury's Unwrapped. It basically gave you a summary of your year and about what you bought, and gave you a little pie chart of fruit and veg and fridge stuff and groceries and whatever. See what your breakdown of your shopping normally was. I was quite pleased to see that about a third of my shopping is fruit and veg. But anyway, they tell you, was really quite nerdy but quite fun. They tell you the product that you'll rank highest for in your local shop, and I was number 3 for buying this in Lancaster. So my goal, now I don't want to announce this on public TV because I don't want people to ruin it. My goal for this year is to become to be number 1 for cinnamon rolls at Christmas. Now I've had a bit of a setback because I was away in Chatham Morris. I wasn't going shopping in Sainsbury's in Lancaster for cinnamon rolls, so I have to see what happens this year. But anyway, that's part of the story behind that. Maths for breakfast. Oh, maths, yeah. A little bit of maths. Sorry, I'm a bit behind on these comments. I did actually. So normally, I don't know if people noticed, under church, before coronavirus, where we could go to church in person, I'd often, if Andy was on worship or tech and he was there early, I'd often bring him a couple of cinnamon rolls because there's 6, so there's 2 each for 3 housemates. And so I'd often bring Andy's his in a little box. So people may have noticed me giving handing over a box to Andy, which is what that's about. No egg wash or milk. No, they kind of they're fine without. Oh, they do have. So I should say this is icing sugar to do a bit of a glaze on them. And I never think you get quite enough, so I add some of my own. But anyway, hey Steve, Oh, crisp. You have crisp packets. Oh, I remember you saying. Melissa was saying that she makes. You can iron crisp packets together to make like a sort of blanket or something for people sleeping on the streets. I think, which is really cool. Joe, I think got this in one. Sorry, I neglected that. It's the honey thing. Okay, maybe it's not as obvious. It is made of wood. Well done, everyone forgetting the honey thing. It is made of wood. Either a weapon or a cork honey. I don't know what kind of weapon. It's like a mini mace, I suppose. Like if you were, it's a bit big for a mouse, but if you were maybe like a cat, perhaps, or like a I'm just trying to think of the standard size comparison. You know, it's like, is it bigger or smaller than a cat or a toaster? But anyway, so maybe a cat, or maybe something slightly smaller than a cat but bigger than a mouse, like a mole, or what's like that bit. Anyway, could be like. I used to read the Redwall books. I don't know if anyone's come across those, which is about like, it's kind of like medieval fantasy kind of setting, but the characters are all like woodland creatures, and so there's like a badger in one of the stories who has a mace, who's pretty like legendary. So number 3. Wood, a cedar from Lebanon. It's a good guess. I think it's just olive wood. I mean, say just. I mean, olive wood is very beautiful, but I don't know if you can see that very well. It's got that kind of like mottled look. Why is it superior for honey over a honey spoon? Oh, honey spoon's such a good shout as well. My parents have one of those. But for people who've not seen, honey spoon is like a teaspoon, but it's got like a kink in, so that you can. In fact, now this is another funny thing that I don't know if anyone else has this happen to their runny honey. There's a joke in my family that my sister once talked about this happening as being like the worst thing ever. But basically, where your runny honey crystallizes, so it's not runny anymore, and it's. I think you can like heat it up. You boil the kettle, fill it, put a bowl of hot water, and like stand it in. It may be kind of uncrystallized, but you just have to like use it in cookie or something instead, or kind of spread it on bread. But yeah, so a honey spoon, because obviously honey is runny. So you pick your honey up, but then it's got a kink in it sits on the side of the jar, and so then it's sitting over the jar, and the honey can drain back into the thing, and you're not trying to like put it on a lid, and then it gets honey in the lid. And so I guess I think someone's saying, why is this? Oh, well, I suppose the question was, is this superior to a honey spoon? I don't think I've ever actually used one of these like with any regularity at all. My grandparents have a bone. Or maybe from the horn of a reindeer or something like that, like a bone kind of spoon, which is what they use for honey. And yeah, we've got a honey spoon, which is probably why this was in a drawer. I think it looks nicer. I do quite like it, but anyway, I can't show you how it works because we've not got runny. And this one's even worse. We've got end up with 2 jars of this. And this one's even worse. It says clear honey on it, very much no longer clear honey. And I don't know why it happens. But it's a bit warm. Right, how many time? 5 minutes. Someone says about guinea pig, wood made from an old beehive. That would be interesting. What's it on about? A regular spoon. Oh, okay. Amy wasn't talking about a honey spoon. But anyway, has anyone else come across a honey spoon? It's got like a with a kink in. Right, what else was I going to? I've got my list of stuff. I'll talk about that next time. I think the other big news in my life was got a haircut. I don't know if you can tell, but mother of Morris cut my hair for me and did like a pretty good job. Well, like we were both pleasantly surprised. I don't know if you can see, but like I suppose it depends on whether you know what I normally look like when I've had my haircut. But the answer is basically this. Yeah, I don't know if anyone else has been struggling with like long hair. I can only apologise that you didn't have Mother of Morris to cut it for you. I should say I'm not the kind of person who normally uses clippers. Like I don't have my hair that short. So it would normally be like clippers on the side, number 3 on the side, back and sides, and then like cut in on top or whatever. I'm always slightly nervous when I give instructions because I had the same hairdresser from the age of about 8 until I left for uni, and then even then because my uni had quite short terms, which were like 10 weeks basically. So I could just about manage if I got my hair cut in September and then got it cut when I got back at Christmas. It would be quite long, but it was just about reasonable. So I basically had this one hairdresser who I'd always go back to, and I'd just be like, oh, can you like have it short, or like not as short, or like shorter than I used to have it, but like, you know, and she just know what I should look like, and she just do it. And so when I like moved away from my parents, I had to like ask her, like, what do I ask other people if I want them to do my hair like you do my hair? And so yeah, she gave me instructions. But I've always struggled. I've always still feel like the barbers are like going in and just going in, because I don't have to book a haircut before as well. Just going in and be like, you know, just sitting there and some random person who doesn't even like know your hair or your head or know you, like, then you just give them instructions and they're like, but you don't know me, like you don't know what I should look like. So anyway, I think I've got used to it now, but it took a little while. Yeah. Amy says she's been cutting Matt's hair since 2015, which is very good going. All training for, yeah. I do. Thanks, Joe. I need to prep the icing sugar. I was. Now I'm just realised we're potentially running. Oh, I forgot to do coffee. We need to finish with plunging. Now, the sad thing about being back here is that my housemates don't really drink hot drinks, which is really sad. So we just got like this really said that. Just like a single person, lonely cafetiere. You know, it's like I showed you the range of 4 last week. Well, this is like number 1 or number 4, depending on how you count it. It probably makes sense to call it number 1 because it does for one person. So just coffee for Tim on his lonesome. But I think I said before, same kettle. Rocket ship, light up blue, kind of jobby. We grew up with a friend's other door was a mirror. That's both combines. I'm impressed with that, Melissa. Both combines the funny thing in your kitchen, i.e. another door that's a mirror, with the cutting your hair theme of the week. Melissa's also saying that it's the ping. I don't know if you can hear that. It's beeping. Right, let's see if we can take you on a little ride. Let's just slightly scope up my head. So, ping is beeping, 0 minutes, moment of truth, and it's like, oh, the kettle's just boiling as well. It's like all happening at once. Oh, look at that. That's definitely like, they've gone past Gordon Brown, haven't they? They're like, someone else's surname is Brown. Okay, I just might get that. So here we go. Look at that. And I feel like I'm on a cookery show, but I've literally done like nothing. I just opened something, cut some things up, and put them in the oven for. I mean, this is fine. But this is borderline. Any like another minute would have been probably sorry, it's a bit hot. Been a minute too long. So right, coffee. I'm just want to go back to the thing that Melissa's saying about having short hair isn't very posh. I suppose maybe it's not, but Paul's wondering. Hi, Paul. Right, so I've got some quite fancy. I always quite enjoy going to get coffee and seeing like what's on offer, and the tailors thing, which are like kind of little pieces of artwork really, where there's like different colours. So this is Brasilia. Roast 4, bold and vibrant. But it's been sitting in the cupboard for like 12 weeks while I've been away, so it's probably not. I had some the other day, and I was like, it's not very strong. So I think I might double strength it. Oh no. Oh, there we go. I think we're going to finish the packet off. Right, so coffee is in. There we go. Lid on. And always, what I normally do is give it a little bit of a kind of plunge and then put it back up, just to like swirl the. I mean, you can stir it with a spoon. Although when I got this, the instructions said to not use a metal spoon because you might break the glass or something. But if I can't be bothered to do that, I do actually have a plastic spoon which I kept from. This is from, fun fact, Coco in Lancaster. Really great takeaway, quite expensive, but like is very good. And they have this quite nice plastic cutlery that's like posh level plastic cutlery that's like next level grade up. So anyway, that's my coffee stirring spoon. But maybe we'll do that next week. Gotta hold something back. For, coffee isn't from Whittards, it's Taylor's, who apparently the same people who make Yorkshire tea. I hadn't realised that until I met someone on a train who was like not from there but had been to visit them. But that's a story for another time. How are we doing for time? We are 26 minutes. Right, so oh wow, Melissa's been painting her own egg cup, which is exciting. Yeah, so I did have half a Bible thought prepared, but I kind of realised after, like, I went to check something, I wasn't sure whether it was quite true. But anyway, so the thing I talked about the last time, and I'll try not to cry this time. Not that it's a bad thing to cry, but it's a bit difficult when you're doing a live broadcast, you can't speak. But yeah, it's a really great story or great thought. So we were in Genesis 15, and we had God promising, showing him the stars, and promising him loads of descendants. And then, I won't read it all out, but then the next thing, so Abraham then asks, "O Lord God, how am I to know that I shall possess it?" So clearly, he wasn't just moved by the stars thing as I was. Well, okay, maybe he was, but I don't want to diss it. So, but basically what happens is God tells him to get a bunch of animals, and like he cuts them in half, and but apart from the birds, so some like heifer 3 years old, a female goat 3 years old, a ram 3 years old, a turtle dove, and a young pigeon. And he brought him all these, cut them in half, and laid each half over against the other. But he did not cut the birds in half. And when birds of prey came down on the carcasses, Abraham drove them away. So it's during the day, he's cut these animals up, and then keeping the birds off them. So then the sun goes down, and the Lord says some stuff, and he actually predicts that they're going to be in Egypt for 400 years. He doesn't say Egypt. And then says, then I'll bring judgment, and then they'll come out. And and then what happens is when the sun had gone down and it was dark, behold, a smoking firepot and a flaming torch passed between these pieces. And on that day the Lord made a covenant with Abraham, saying, "To your offspring I give this land, from the river of Egypt to the great river, the river Euphrates," and then lists all the people whose land it is at the moment. And so it's this weird to us kind of, I think it's sort of like an ancient Near East ritual kind of ceremony where you'd I think I've read that you would do this if you're agreeing like a deal or something, and you'd split these animals in half, and they're kind of set out apart from each other with a gap in between. So I'm imagining them on like little stands or something in the middle of this like field. But anyway, and then you'd walk between them, and it's just like seems weird to us probably, but it was a way. I suppose it's a bit like shaking hands, but it's a different way of like in that culture of like agreeing a deal. But what's really interesting here is we've got the smoking fire pot and flaming torch pass through them, but it's only Abraham doesn't walk through them. It's just God who walks through them. I suppose we recognise the kind of flaming torch, make us think of Egypt actually, and where God appears as like a smoke during the day and fire at night. And so it's this really interesting thing of God making this promise, or kind of making this covenant with Abraham, but then it's only God who kind of signs it. And it's this kind of quite cool thing of actually like, it's not conditional on both sides keeping the agreement. Like God is promising to do this, even though Abraham might not be faithful, and you know, we've already seen examples where he's not been faithful. At this point where he's got to Egypt and said his wife was his sister because he was nervous about being like killed or something. But yeah, God basically makes this promise, and then it is God who like guarantees it. Abraham doesn't have to keep his side of the bargain. Now, which I suppose reminds us, like, yeah, makes us think of the way that grace is completely freely given and isn't dependent on what we do. And it's just really cool to see a way that was there from the start. Sometimes it feels like, oh, that's like a New Testament thing. But we see that God acts through grace throughout the Bible, and that's one example of him doing it with Abraham. Now, Abraham. I should say, I thought this was like a whole covenant thing, and I looked up a video, and they were talking about, like, you've got the Noahic covenant with Noah and Abraham, and I think, is it David? I can't remember what the other one is. And they said that the Noahic one with Noah, so the promise of, like, I won't ever flood the earth again, they were saying that's the only one that doesn't have two sides to it. So maybe take my theology of this with a pinch of salt, because there is a difference. I suppose the general stuff around the promise of Abraham, there is, like he says, like, if you obey me and follow me, then I'll make your descendants into a great nation. So it is kind of linked to obedience. But I suppose in that moment of how we see the kind of detail being worked out, that part of the story is just purely from God's side. So I suppose the difference with Noah is God just says, I'm not going to flood the land, and he doesn't say you have to do anything for that to be the case. Yeah, so there is something more subtle. But anyway, if you want to read some more, the video was from the Bible Project, and I think it's called Covenants or something. I should have put it in the description, but I was in a rush, so I didn't. In fact, maybe I can find it. The Bible Project Covenant. Covenants. Here we go. Right. You can something for you to watch while you have your breakfast. Right. Is that gone? There we go. Right. The comments. So, something to read, watch while you're doing breakfast.
And this covenant is with the
it's now playing on my computer.
God asks them to.
Okay. So, thanks for joining us, everyone. I will ice my cinnamon rolls and enjoy those. And yeah, look out for them in Lancaster. But don't buy them all, because I still need to rack up my points towards being number one on Sainsbury's Unwrapped. And as always, I think I might have to add some more coffee to this. I'm not sure if I have enough really. It looks very pale, but a nice amber colour. It's not necessarily what you want for coffee. Anyway, going to plunge. And yes, so don't forget Sunday service start about 10:20 for 10:30ish start. You can find the link on the main page. Thanks for joining this week, and I will see you next week. Happy breakfast. Bye.